Oh, another week, another dose of Pro League. Guys, welcome to another video. And again, this week we are going to turn the mic around the right way for one. And we're going to predict which games are going to be coming up that we think are going to be good to watch each day. Because I said previously, I had done loads of videos where I predicted each game, how I think it was going to go. And, you know, there was too much to follow. So we're going to pick a game from each day. And once again, we did the same last week. And I think I predicted pretty well. Most of the games went really, really good from a neutral standpoint, so to speak, and a lot of these games are predicted correctly as well, so pretty happy with that one in that respect. But let's talk about last week anyway, just about basic results, etc. So OG went 4-0, looking good for them, even though there is a dark cloud hanging over the organisation, so to speak. It doesn't seem to be concerning them too much on the actual battlefield. FaZe going 3-1, which is good for them as well. You know, after a disappointing London due to a few different reasons, they got the revenge against LG, and FaZe came out as winners against Reciprocity. Now let's talk about Reciprocity. A mediocre week last week, and on top of that as well, Tommy now leaving the team. Well, not leaving the team, just going into the sub role for now. Just due to some health concerns from his side of things, and obviously myself and everybody at EGL wishes Tommy very, very well. We've known him for a long time. He's been in the UK and the EU scene for a number of years, and has been an influential player, an influential member, and just an all nice guy. Really big fan of him, so hopefully Tommy does get better. We hope that you do, and hopefully we see him back in this Reciprocity team. What I will say though, it's a good opportunity for Dens. You know, a lot of people we're a little bit curious as whether Dens should have been the one that got dropped when Dylan was brought in. So it's now an opportunity for him to show what he can do. Let's talk about EG. They went 3-0 themselves. A real big turnaround from what we've seen in London. A final, I think it was a last placement for them, a top 16 in London. And things hadn't been looking good before that either. But things seem to be clicking. Phantom's performing well. We'll talk about him very, very soon. UIU looking awful for them right now. Norton 4 last week. Not great for them. Gen G surprisingly turned it around, 1-3 now. Last week, after a really good start to the Pro League, they've started slipping down. Midnight went 2-1, nothing too much to talk about there. Won a couple of games that, you know, you maybe wouldn't necessarily presume they were going to. Beat Luminosity 3-0. Actually, I forgot to put Luminosity's record down here. Obviously, they went 0-3 last week, losing to FaZe, EG, and Midnight. So Midnight actually beat UIU. They beat Luminosity, lost to Gen G, and yeah, well, that's fairly simple. Yeah, we expected that, but yeah, LG absolutely looking awful as well. So let's talk about the first game. We're going to talk about what we think is going to be the game to watch on Monday. I've got the full schedule up. So EG against Midnight playing 6 p.m. local time. And then we've got Reciprocity against Luminosity. Now, as I said, Reciprocity have had a poor week last week, and on top of that, they've lost Tommy. So Den's coming in. He is going to be moving into a more familiar role than he would have been in previously. Obviously, he was sogging when he was previously in Reciprocity. I'm presuming it's a like-for-like swap. That's just a complete presumption from my point of view, but he should be moving into Tommy's role, which is typically a Maddox, etc. So let's see what he does with that. I think one positive of Tommy leaving, obviously this is maybe me clutching at straws as a big fan of Reciprocity, is the fact that, you know, things weren't going great on the actual playing side of things, so a change maybe isn't necessarily the worst thing that could happen. Obviously, in the circumstances that we've seen happen, it's not great. We don't want to see that. We unfortunately, yes, we know Tom has to look after himself, but it's not the best of situations for a player to be in, for a team to be in, but at the same time, it hasn't been great. I mean, this is really the ideal game for them to kick it off, though, isn't it? I mean, you go up against an LG team who won 1 map in 3 series last week, and, I mean, it truly seems to be the end of this team. And, you know, I am going to do a separate video on LG at some point this week, just to discuss some things I would like to see changed in terms of roster movements, because that's inevitably going to come. I need to figure out when the next roster lock is, actually. I mean, I presume we've got the next 2 weeks of Pro League, and then we've got another 2 weeks of it there, and yeah, and then there's the break for Anaheim, etc. So I presume it's after this week and then the next 2 weeks of Pro League. That's when we're going to see the next roster period before Anaheim. So yeah, LG need a big change. They need a big change. But as far as this match goes, it's a good opportunity for both teams. It's a good start for Reciprocity in terms of, yes, okay, they've just brought Dens in, but they're going in against a team who aren't playing well, so it's a good opportunity to get some confidence. However, for LG, they obviously know they're going up against a team who've just had somebody change, and one of their most influential players dropped out in favour of somebody who was already subbed, so LG will be looking at it in the same respect. Now, I'm going to go for Reciprocity in this one. Maybe a potential bit of bias in this one for a 3-2 victory, but I think it's just due to their S&D has got a lot better. And I think I fancy them to nick at least one or two of the respawns off Luminosity, who, for me, could lose all of their games again this week. It really is looking like that. This isn't solely coming down to just matchups and who has the talent, etc. This is literally because Luminosity really do look dead in the water, and I think this team is done at this point. I don't think anybody wants to be there, so I'm going to give Reciprocity the edge on a close victory, which I think will propel them on for the rest of the week. I'm going to say 3-2 to Reciprocity. Tuesday. Oh god, I've scrolled down far too far now. Let's scroll back up the schedule here. Anyway, so on Tuesday, we've got Midnight against Reciprocity, OG against EG, UYU against Luminosity, and FaZe against Gen G. Now, a couple of people would have probably thought I would have picked FaZe against Gen G in this one, but I'm going to go again with OpTic against EG. EG really turned it around. Like, it is not what I was expecting. Excuse me. I know Pro League is very, very different to a LAN setting. A lot of people say Columbus, the results can be very, very different there. It doesn't necessarily mean that's what we're going to see at LAN events. Clearly, we didn't see that from EG at that LAN event. Although I will give them their due, is that they just made the change. It's a completely new roster, essentially, at this point. And it takes some time to adjust. A lot of people talk about the honeymoon period, myself included, but in that case, they weren't adjusted when it was in London. It seems as if things are really starting to heat up for them now, and they took a couple of good results last week. So beating Gen G. Let's have a look at what the exact results were for EG last week, because I did bring it up. So they beat UAU 3-1. They beat LG 3-1. Everyone was beating LG. Let's have a look who else. And of course, they beat Gen G 3-0 as well, by the way. I mean, yes, okay, the first map was close, but other than that, 6-4 S&D, yeah, close, but control 3-0. A 3-0 against Gen G is a big result for any team in this league. If OG did that to them, you'd be happy as an OpTic gaming fan. So EG looking really, really good at the moment. And again, OpTic had a perfect week last week, but there is still this cloud hanging over the team. I don't think it is affecting them so much, but it's definitely something that plays in the back of your minds. A lot of the OpTic fans are very, very nervous about what's going on. Obviously, I haven't personally chipped in about this yet. I want to talk about it, but for a severe lack of information more than anything, I don't want to sort of throw my hat in the ring and say, oh, this is what I think, when nobody really knows what's going on right now. So we're trying to figure out exactly what's going to happen with that OG team. But other than that, they've looked great. A couple of map 5s coming in there as well against Gen G and FaZe. So their S&D is looking solid, as we did predict after London was very, very good for them. But I definitely fancy EG to be able to take some respawns here. You have to shut down Phantoms. It has to be said. I mean, I'll bring up his stats here. I've got them written down, but I want to talk about them all. Just from the sheer fact that he was dropping a ridiculous amount of kills. Let's have a look. Pro League Phantom. So he received the top rating on cutstats.gg. Shout out to JP and the gang who bring up the stats of 1.58 from cutstats.gg, and adjusted KD of 1.45, and overall KD of 1.6. Now that just tells me that he's been absolutely slaying in respawn, and it's a 1.7 in respawn for Phantoms during his Pro League career. So that's over 8 maps. To put it in perspective, Simp has done it over 11 maps. He has put up a 1.2. Over 8, Phantoms has put up a 1.7. So things are looking good for EG. Phantoms, he's looking like a player who really has made the level step up. He was in that FaZe Clan Black team that won in Fort Worth. That has produced, I think it's 4 members now out of that team have made the step up into Pro League teams and are doing the business so far, and he's another player that really has performed well. But as said, I do prefer OpTic in this matchup. Their S&D is stronger, and I just think that if you're EG, you're not going to win 3 respawns against OpTic. They're at least going to win their hard point. I'd expect them to probably win the control as well. for that reason, I'm going to say 3-1 to OpTic, thinking they win the S&D. And even if we go to a last map, I would still favour OpTic in that scenario. Their S&D is too strong at the moment. They're always going to take a respawn or two. I think they can take the control, so I'm going to go with OpTic to win that one. But I think it will be a close game, and I'm looking forward to see what Phantoms can do against the highest level of competition. Let's see if we can continue that 1.7 respawn KD going up against Dashi. Good luck with that one, but I've got full faith. Anyway, let's talk about Wednesday. Let's have a look. FaZe Clan against EG, UIU against Reciprocity, then Midnight against OpTic, and then Genji against Luminosity. Originally, I think I picked Genji against Luminosity in this one, but that'll probably be a smoking the way that LG have been playing so far. So we went with FaZe against EG. Excuse me. So both these teams looking in form, both fairly new rosters. We just talked about EG and how Phantoms has looked, and another difficult matchup for him. Instead of going up against Dashi, he's going up against Scraps, who was playing pretty well last week. I think he tweeted out something like his control KD or something was like a 1.8 for Scraps. So, I mean, let's just chalk up the control for EG in that scenario. Scraps has been unbelievable all year long, and he's always seemingly the standout player in his team, and rightly so. Look, he's a phenomenal talent, and this FaZe roster seemed to be getting better. 3-1 last week from them, only losing to to OG in a 3-2 fashion. I can't exactly remember what the score was on that map. It was a 6-4 Hacienda, and OpTic won the S&D on frequency 6-0. So pointing once again to FaZe's weakness, which is the search and destroy. However, their weaknesses are counteracted by the fact that they're very good at hardpoint, very good at control. So they're very much a respawn team right now, and it does seem as if their S&D, as the week went on, did start to get better. It was a big criticism of theirs when they were in London. It still seems to have transferred over to the first week of Pro League back after London. Their S&D still seems to be struggling a little bit. However, as said, their respawn looks very, very good. I want to talk about what I think is probably going to be the most important battle. Look, Phantoms against Scraps is big. I do believe Scraps comes out on top on that one. So for EG, I look at the SMGs and I would probably say I prefer them to FaZes the way that we've been seeing them play. Now, Zuma and Asim have looked pretty good in Search and Destroy in games in general, but Attach really did stand out for EG last week as well, and has looked good. He's currently sitting on an overall adjusted KD of 1.29, and Apathy's been put number 1 or so over the Pro League. He's a player as well that seems to be hitting form with this EG squad. So the SMG battle, I would probably just about give over to EG, but I do believe that the AR battle heavily sort of lies towards FaZe, and that's probably why I'm going to give it a FaZe in a 3-1 fashion. I believe they'll lose their S&D. They do seem to be getting better at it as well, but I just think if you get a good performance out of Scraps, he is literally as unplayable as some of the best players in this game. You think about players who are unplayable when they're on their game. You think Dashi, you think Scraps, and I really struggle to think of other players, maybe Simp, and I mean Octane in London. I mean, these are the 4 players right now that are up there, and these guys, if you find them on their good day, they are unplayable. I think if you get a good performance like that, Scraps then FaZe walk away quite handily with this one, 3-1. I think the way that he's playing right now, I think he'll continue to do so, and I think FaZe will take this one 3-1. But if this does go to the last map, I do fancy EG, because their S&D for FaZe is still getting there. However, it's not awful, but it's taken its time to get there, and that's where EG could exploit them. But I think FaZe will win the respawns, and I think this will take this one 3-1. So finally, Thursday, it was quite hard to pick a game, because if we run through the schedule here, Thursday is FaZe against Midnight, whitewash. EG against Reciprocity, Genji against UIU, whitewash probably. Yeah. Luminosity against OG, you'd expect a 3-0, 3-1 in most of those games, apart from the EG Reciprocity game. I've talked about EG quite a lot here. What is it, like 3 of my games I've highlighted are to do with them, because they've just looked so much better than expected, and it's really through a British saying incoming here, a cat amongst the pigeons, and it's one of these things where nobody really expected them to be as good as they have been. Specifically last week, was it a flash in the pan? We'll soon find out, but them going up against Rec, and one of the reasons I have picked this one is because EG's form last week, yes, okay, who did they play? Let's have a look. They played UIU and beat them 3-1, okay, yep, UIU didn't play that great. They played LG, beat them 3-1 as well. The only map LG won all week was against EG. And then they played up against Gen G, which was a massive result. Big game there. You know, Gen G are a very hard team to beat. But other than that, 2 easy games. So it's hard to judge based off what we see and whether EG are truly back and truly are at the top of their game. They start off with a relatively easy match against Midnight, no disrespect to them. But then after that, they got OG, FaZe, and then Reciprocity. So it's a difficult week for EG. On the other side of things, Reciprocity, they had a really tough week last week. They went up against OG, FaZe, and Gen G. So they beat Gen G in a close game, which made me think there is life in this team. Lost to OpTic, which was expected, and then went on to lose to FaZe 3-0. FaZe smoked them as well, to be honest. So contrasting weeks. It was really polarizing. You know, Reciprocity had a tough week. EG had a slightly easier week. Now EG have got a really tough week. They're going up against, as I said, Midnight, then OG, then FaZe Clan, then coming in against Reciprocity. Whereas Reciprocity got a much easier week this week. They go up against Luminosity, then Midnight, then UYU, then EG. So, you know, Reciprocity at this point realistically could be 2-1 or 3-0. EG realistically could be 1-2 at this point. It's very, very hard to predict, but you would think that Reciprocity have an easier week. So I think this one's going to be big. This one is really going to be affected by confidence and how everyone's hitting form. Because if EG come into this and they've had a poor week, you know, they're going to be disappointed. But Reciprocity, having Dens in there, if they can get some confidence behind him, and with this easier week, then I do believe this is maybe closer than you would expect on paper based on the results last week. So if you're still with me on my theory around this, I think this will be a very, very close game. As far as matchups go, again, we'll talk about Phantoms a lot. He's had a very, very good start to his career. He's going to be going up against somebody in this Reciprocity team in Dens that has not necessarily been, well, he hasn't been playing full stop. Not necessarily, he just hasn't. So he's going to be going up against Dens, who will be eager to prove himself in this roster. Let's see how he's going to be playing. But then you look at subs, etc. I think I'm going to have to see a good performance out of Dylan to see Reciprocity come out on top on this one. However, both teams' record last week in S&D was relatively balanced. I think EG one was like, I think they were like one map up on S&D, and Reciprocity were in and around. Either way, it was relatively close in terms of wins to loss in S&D last week for both these teams. However, I mean, just based on the fact that Reciprocity are missing Tommy, I think that this does hand it over to EG. I would love to give this to Reciprocity. I think it'll be a close game and a 3-2 victory for EG. But I think it's going to be a really good game to watch. You know, it comes down to both teams. Can Reciprocity carry potential confidence from an easier week? Can EG bounce back from a tough week? That's the real question with this one. So, yeah, it's some really interesting games going to be going on this week. I'll just have a quick run through once again of the games that I do believe are going to be the best ones to watch. Reciprocity v LG, that is going to be tonight. This video will be going up at around 7 PM local time, and the games do start pretty late on at about 11. Then tomorrow on Tuesday is going to be OpTic against EG. I believe that will be the best one. FaZe against EG on Wednesday, and then on Thursday to close it out, I think EG Re-Rec is definitely going to be the game to watch. So guys, if you just let me know what you think of these games. Do you think EG are going to continue their run of form? Do you think FaZe can continue to improve in their S&D? Do OG continue their consistent performances, their consistent wins? Can Reciprocity bounce back with Dens coming in? Do they perform to the same level or better? You know, they didn't have a good week last week. Let me know below your thoughts. There's going to be plenty more videos coming this week as well. There's a lot going on right now. We're going to have Spitfire, we're going to have discussions around LG, etc., discussions around OpTic, what's going on in the organization. Plenty more content coming this week, guys. Thank you for watching this video, and we will see you next time.